U.S. may be facing a trap in the Iran war. Indeed, the trap may be the Strait of Hormuz. Getting the Strait of Hormuz clear and navigable to U.S. friendly cargo may be the biggest challenge. Trap in the Iran. How come when I hit the speaker off on my computer, it still plays? Oh, sorry, guys. Something odd here. But anyway, so I got an issue with this computer. the the Iran war trap is that if we don't get the Strait of Hormuz clear and navigable, we're going to have some very serious issues with our allegedly our dollar. According to Ray Dalio, this may be the last big battle the United States has. If we fail this, our country may be doomed. I mean, he's put it in those terms because he says the allies will go away from us. We'll lose our dollar's reserve currency. He don't think that we can do it. He thinks we got to have allied support to get the Strait of Hormuz closed. Now, I beg to differ with that a little bit. Now, you got to remember, Ray Dalio is a banker. He is not a military strategist. He understands economies and world cycles of events and things to bet on. But still, he is not a military strategist. And so we're going to go into that. I think there's a solution. But that solution, too, may be a trap of sorts because that solution may be the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. I presented in my live session last night how that unit could go in and secure the strait. It's an operation that's not been done before, but it's still, it looks very workable. The only challenge will be maintaining logistics under fire to keep those forward bases established on the islands in the Strait of Hormuz, as I talked about. So the whole thing boils down to we're probably going to have to leave those guys there. And that is the sad part of those guys or somebody like them now. They may rotate out with other units or other people in their unit, but we're probably going to have to keep a force there. The reason I say that is that all it takes, as I mentioned last night, is one drone, one drone hitting a carrier or some other cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz, and insurance companies just aren't going to insure it. They're just not going to have the faith and confidence to do that to keep things flowing through the strait. Now, that said, Trump has, supposedly went out and called for their allies to support him. He's gone out and even asked China to support him. Now, we know China wasn't going to do this, and we seriously had good reasons to doubt that our so-called allies in NATO were going to do it either, because it's supposedly not their war, even though they're suffering from having some of them been attacked by Iran, like Cyprus, some things shot toward Turkey, a British air base there on Cyprus itself. We do know that, but they're saying, hey, it's not our fight. You started this war, it's your war. And the Iranians are saying, hey, we're closing the gap just to U.S. and Israeli tankers, U.S. and Israeli cargo ships. Now, it may be that we need the fertilizers, the sulfur and the components for our fertilizers. But that said, we can probably find some other sources for some of that stuff. And the United States is a net, we do take some petroleum out of the Gulf, but we're a net exporter. We can absorb that a lot better than other countries. So this has got to do with the U.S. standing in the world and how the United States is viewed in our world reserve currency status. If we lose world reserve currency status, our economy will essentially collapse because it is really based on that. It's based on the petrodollar. And what Iran has said, okay, we will let oil flow through if the countries trade in one. See, they're trying to hit us where it really hurts. So that is something we're going to have to keep an eye on real carefully. But I think there's a solution to that. But that solution, unfortunately, may require that we have to leave some guys, at least we can declare, hey, we've set these bases. They're like all the other bases we got in the Mideast. And other than that, we're going to pull out of the war. We probably could do that, maybe with the addition of a few escorts, some naval escorts if necessary. But here's the thing: the Iranian forces are decentralized. The IRGC has decentralized. They've distributed command down to lower elements, and they just basically said fire at will. So central command is not required for resistance. And this is something that could pose problems for us. We might blow up nearly every drone factory in Iran, but you just miss a few drones hiding in a garage somewhere in the back of a truck. And believe you me, they've already shown they can launch these in the back of a truck, these Shahed 136 drones. So all it takes is just one or two of those getting away and finding their way into a tanker, and it's game over in terms of free trade through the Strait of Hormuz, unless Iran says otherwise. And thereby, Iran has enormous leverage over the United States that's totally disproportionate to the amount of firepower we can bring to the fore. Unless somehow Iran gets a big change of heart, but I don't see that because their whole strategy is to outlast us, is to hold down, batten down the hatches, and know the United States is going to get weary of this war and will back away. And that's why the Gulf states don't support moving in right now with their forces and attacking Iran, unless Iran does something far more crazy and starts attacking their desalination plants or more critical infrastructure in these Gulf state countries. They've already been attacked. They've already determined that Iran is their enemy, and they're asking the United States to stomp them and wipe them out. They won't be happy if we leave early. They've already expressed that. So they say, hey, we're going to start this war, but you start it, you need to finish it, because they've already determined that Iran is their enemy. And this is coming from them. So whatever the case is, there's a lot still to be done in those regards. Now, I'm not trying to justify the war in one way. That I'm just telling you where we're at, what it boils down to, and the ramifications moving forward. Yes, we could pull out immediately right now and be gone, but Iran will still be there, and there's still going to be problems. The Strait would be a huge issue, and it will cause big problems for the United States. Although I still think we should be more of an isolationist country, personally. But we're stuck there, and we're probably going to have to deal with China and others later. Maybe North Korea. I just put up a video today showing how North Korea is taking advantage of this and how they might make a move. If North Korea makes a move, China may say, wow, okay, the United States is tied up with North Korea and Iran. Oh, yeah, now's the time to hit the Strait of the Taiwan Strait. So, and put our forces in Taiwan, because guess what? Sea states are best April and September. Well, September geopolitically may not be as favorable as right now while we're so distracted. They might decide to do it anyway. And who knows, maybe they're putting the bug in Kim Jong-un's ear to do something to get us distracted immediately over there. And as soon as we get distracted going that way, he hits somewhere else. That's the kind of thing we could be dealing with. So I'm just trying to bring out the full spectrum of what may be in front of us, not what will happen. Crystal balls tend to be very unreliable. What you do is you look at trends, you look at motives, you look at capabilities of each side, and you have to figure out what they could do. You try to figure out what their game is. Based on what they've done, what they've said, where they're going, the kind of not what they put out in public. You can't ever go by what any country says in public, because they all lie. They all lie, and we're in the fog of war. So you got to figure out from what's behind the scenes, what you can ferret out about these different organizations and where they may go. As you know, my basic supposition, and it stands to right now still, I did a video called How the War Ends, and I figured that Iran, the IRGC will still be existent, the Ayatollah regime will still be existent, and they may be battered and knocked down, but give them time. If nothing else happens, they will rise back up out of the rubble and do the same thing all over again. Why? Because that's their strategy. So do we need to be involved in it at that point? Will Israel take care of it? these are big questions. Whether we need to be involved or not, will we be involved? That's another big question. It's not exactly the same question as do we need to be involved? I think most people can appreciate that little fine nuance. That said, what sometimes our political leaders, our fearless leaders, decide to do isn't always what we expect or desire them to do, as we've seen quite a bit from either party. So I've always said, trust no man. And now you're beginning to see that. If you watch my last video through the full extent, you'll know what I mean by that. I have said that for a long time, and so I really kind of drilled down on it a little bit in my last video. So some of you were here for that, and I appreciate y'all coming back. How many people we got in the house tonight? We got, can this thing scroll up? Only 76 watching right now. So I will come through the chat room in a little bit. We're going to go into the news. I'm going to show some of the articles backing this up. Now, the United States has wiped out some of the key players well, actually, Israel did this. It was Israeli strikes that took out basically the guy who was really probably de facto the guy really in charge of Iran, Ali Larijani. Ali Larijani was an individual who had ties in the cleric. He came out of the cleric community. He's been a nuclear weapons negotiator, I won't say weapons. He has ties with the IRGC. He's really the only Iranian who has ties with all these different elements, who could pull them all together. And he seemed to be favoring some kind of negotiation. So it's thought by some that he, due to his connections, taking him out would really cause the regime to fall apart and ensure some kind of victory. But it's also thought that President Trump's off-ramp just got blasted away because being able to negotiate with him was probably the key way out of the war. And Israel took care of that, probably because maybe Israel don't want us leaving the war yet. Israel has struggled to get us involved fighting Iran for over 20 years in a full-blown conflict. Do I think Israel will use nuclear weapons on Iran? They could. It's not necessary right now they do that because Iran is really knocked down unless they want to do something where the nuclear materials are believed to be. If they're certain they're there, I mentioned that before. So they don't really have to our knowledge, the bunker buster type nukes, but a sufficiently large nuke over the top of the site could cause good enough compression waves down into the site that it could still collapse it. And whether it be pickaxe facility or wherever, a nuke would probably end that situation, but it would raise a whole new specter. And the world hates Israel a lot already, and maybe they will do it because there's prophecies to the whole world, every nation turning against Israel in the book of Jeremiah. So Jeremiah 12, chapter 12, verses 2 through 3. You'll find it, verse 3 specifically. So that was prophesied. Some people think that prophecy is, what we see in Revelation, the book of Revelation. So just something to think about. It's 2:41 a.m. Yes, sir. I get you. I'm going to try to make this fast. So, and you can always catch it on the rewind tomorrow if you get tired tonight. Whoa. I'm taking stuff out I don't want to do. Also, the head of the Basij forces was taken out. The head of the Basij forces. Now, this might be more critical for enabling the protesters to rise up if they still don't have the weapons, but this could really go a long way. And his name was Soleimani, General Soleimani, kind of like the general that Trump took out, but not the same man. Not the same man. This guy was over the Basij forces, and his name was Gholam Reza, General Gholam Reza Soleimani. Anyway, so let's kind of go through this stuff. If I can get control of my cursor here, I am going to show you guys through some of the news articles associated with all this stuff. Oh, yeah. And I do think that when Trump went to the so-called allies, he was testing them. I don't think he had any expectation they were going to help. I think he was testing them to see what they would step up to. And he's testing them because he might not really support them in the future. And so he's gave them an opportunity. Now, this is not a NATO situation. Trump hasn't gotten the strait under control. No, he hasn't. But that 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit could do that. They could do that. I've shown that in my last video, what they would do and how they could do it. And frankly, I think that could work, provided they also have plenty of other anti-drone countermeasures, like an array. It didn't take an array of things. Drones can be shot down by aircraft. So this would have aircraft operating out of inside of the Strait of Hormuz. And that would be most effective, especially if combined with the Ukrainian anti-drone drones, which are so much cheaper than the stuff we've been shooting at drones, and maybe the laser system that we use in El Paso and the microwave broadcast system. All that stuff together could be very effective in taking out drones, especially if we needed to, then maybe a naval escort for the ships that require it. So there is a way, but let's go on and share some of this stuff. There is a way to do that, but to keep it effective, the downside is we're probably going to have to keep somebody there on those islands. Now we can just claim their bases and the war is over. We're just maintaining security for the strait. So, we might be supposedly declaring victory and going home, but I don't think if we're going to keep that strait open, we can ever truly go home unless there is some kind of complete unconditional surrender from Iran. But even then, well, all the fractured IRGC forces agree with the surrender, especially they got their own little pet Shaheed drones. Big question. And I'll show you a dimension on that as we go forward here as to how, just because the main general surrenders, the main forces surrender, everybody don't surrender. The country may be non-existent, but some of the troops sometimes keep fighting in wars. And we had an example of that right here. And what's today? The USA. So let's go forward. And we're going to be coming to these things. And we're going to explore some of this stuff just to explain it. But, so we haven't ever done combat or faced a force that had the religious convictions that we're facing fighting the mullah regime. And what they believe is deep-seated. Will you agree with what they believe or not? Frankly, I don't. But what they believe in their heart and mind is something they think and they're convinced they have to do or they die and go to hell. So they're, it's a situation, that, yeah, they're going to fight like nobody else, way beyond what Western people will fight. And that is something we didn't really bank on when we got into this, I don't think. So that sounds positive. There's a plan to open it. Yes, I think there is a plan. We're not been told what the plan is, but I showed you the unit and what they can do in a previous live session that I did last night. If you haven't seen that, please go watch it. I go into some detail on the EBAO concept. So let's do this. I'm going to go into this share I was talking about doing. We'll go through some of these articles and just have a look, see what's happening, some of the latest aspects of it. Here is Trump issuing firm warning to NATO allies if they fail to help the U.S. And, President told reporters on Sunday, he said that there would be a very bad future in store for NATO if there was no response or a negative response. And that's basically what he's getting. Odd thing is France is actually sending an aircraft carrier in them to claim they're not going to help with the opening the Strait of Hormuz. So what are they sending them for? What are they sending them for? So that's, funny. Oh, this thing is hung up. It is hung up. I'm going to stop the share and reshare. This is getting worse. Whatever it is with this computer, it's getting worse about this, getting through an article. Oh, am I coming back to the right place? Yes. All right, here we are. So, we're still hung up? No, okay. I'm having some problems with this computer. I was going to show you some other things he was saying here. So, yeah, Starmer is, of course, not going to go along with it. So, Trump said, we've been very sweet. We didn't have to help them with Ukraine. Ukraine is thousands of miles away from us, but we helped them. And now we'll see if they help us. You got to remember, Ukraine was not a member of NATO. We did not have a NATO obligation to help Europe in this area. And we've done most of the lion's share of lifting. He said, because I've long said that if we'll be there for them, but they won't be here for, but they won't be there for us. And I'm not sure that they'd be there. Well, that sounds redundant, but basically says, hey, we told them we'd be there for them, but he never believed it'd be there for us. And maybe that's the case because this is kind of more like the Ukraine situation. But Ukraine's not a NATO member. It's not our fight. And I've always said it should be Europe's job to take care of that. Yet we've done the lion's share of the lifting. But the Europeans, they want everything both ways. At least the elite in Europe. I shouldn't, that don't really speak for the people there. It's just the elites, and most of the elites are globalist. And what Trump's doing doesn't suit their plan. And this is why a lot of them are running to China because China is a big factor in the globalist agenda. And you might know that if you don't believe that, David Rockefeller and Klaus Schwab both went to China, and they both, this is two different periods of time, said that China had the model that the world needs to follow. They adored what China was doing, the total control of the citizenry, because these people are not for freedom. And that's what you got to bear in mind. They're not big fans of freedom. And if you don't believe that, look at Yuri Noah, what's his last name? Harway or whatever. Oh, Lord, I'm getting brain lock right now. I've shown you that guy and a lot of things he said. Uh, so you got to bear those things in mind. That's what we're facing is they really want to go down a path. And I'm going to show you something else on that's kind of interesting tonight. So anyway, it's all part of a big struggle. Okay, are you going to click on that or not? There we go. Whoa, don't pull out. Come on. Jeez. I'm having problems with this stuff tonight. So Ray Dalio, he's saying, this is America's final battle, the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe that's what I should have titled my video tonight. That is how he sees it, America's final battle. Because he says, we don't win this, we're finished as a country. Seriously, that's kind of what he's. Oh, this ain't gonna let me show his article. What's up, Benghazi? You used to let me show stuff, Benghazi. Zinga. Anyway, but that's the straight of it is that he's saying that we're going to lose world reserve currency status because all the other countries are going to lose faith in us, that Trump will have to tuck his tail between his legs. But what I've told you, Ray Dalio is not a military strategist. He understands economies. He understands banking. He's a bankster. And notice the way I said it, bankster. Just like what's the global elites mostly? They're the core of them are banksters. So, uh, well, they've sighted the USS Tripoli going through the Malacca Strait. It's on its way. And the USS Tripoli is carrying the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. Every time I see them listed, it's a different number of personnel. It started 5,000, 2,500. Now it's 2,200. Isn't that funny? The unit size seems to be just whoever's talking about it. Anyway, so uh, this unit is set up to deploy not from the sea from this aircraft carrier. This amphibious assault ship happens to be a miniature marine aircraft carrier, and it has enormous capabilities. And hey, we got a super chat. Carrie Johnson, thank you so much. Salute to you. Appreciate that, Carrie Johnson. Carrie, thank you. All right. So back to uh, back to what we're talking about here. This is These guys are good. And what they would do is deploy from this aircraft carrier with helicopters, with Ospreys. They've got support of up to 20 F-35s that are capable of short takeoff and vertical landing. They don't need a catapult like the F-30 normal F-35s on a regular aircraft carrier. They can dominate the airspace. They don't have the long sorties. They can get within 100 miles of the operations center with this aircraft carrier, the USS Tripoli, which means that the F-35s can spend a lot more time on station. As opposed to flying an hour to get there, flying around 40 minutes, an hour to get back. They got 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back. So they got over 2 hours per sortie on mission time. So it makes a huge difference tactically. And the fact that these Marines will not be having to fight minefields to get to the islands they want to take over. That's probably what they'll do is take those islands in the middle of the Gulf Strait. I'll show you that again in a minute, but I'm not going to go into as much detail about this EBAO forward basin concept as I did in the last video. So just go back and watch that. But I think this is a game changer in terms of a multi-layered anti-drone system, and we are pounding the drones to cut down their numbers, and the numbers are falling. So to be able to deal with the remnant drones, if you're using lasers and microwaves and F-35s, attack helicopters, it can be done. It can be done. The key thing is I'm keeping our logistics going on the island, but the same forces should be able to secure the logistics going to these islands. This is a concept that's never been tested before, but I think in this case is a brilliant concept. So what they'd be probably doing is taking Abu Massa and the Greater Tom and Lesser Tom islands here. That's the ones that the Iranians had put military units on. I think they would finish taking those out and take over those islands and use them to right in the middle of the strait to put a zone because their weapons, especially if they put in HIMARS with with ATACMS missiles and PRSM missiles, prisms, they got a lot of range. You add to that anti-drone drones, lasers, microwave weapons. It's quite possible that they could keep the strait open, especially with the lasers, which have an infinite magazine. You don't run out of those. And we're ordered 10,000 of the Ukrainian anti-drone drones, and F-35s and attack helicopters can shoot down drones too. So I don't think we're running through our really expensive interceptors, the THAADs and the Patriots. But this is a way that we got a shot at keeping this strait open. Of course, as I mentioned last night, Newt Gingrich just wants us to take a dozen nukes and nuke a new canal across here. If y'all remember, what was that comic that used to be about Sudsbury or something? There used to be a political satire comic that was out, and it was very liberal. What was the name of that? Anyway, they always showed Newt Gingrich as a bomb. He was always depicted as a bomb. So anyway, Newt Gingrich, smart man. Hey, smart man. You got to respect him. Crude oil prices. Well, they're back down a little bit. They've edged back down and then kind of going up. If you don't secure the strait, you could see these go up to 150, maybe $200 $200 a barrel. I'm trying to say an hour. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. My mouth goes faster than my brain, or my brain goes faster than my mouth, and all the words get jumbled up. I got these little guys running around the side of my head, and they're all trying to find the right word. They know what I mean. They're trying to find the right word, and they're trying to throw it down to my mouth to come out. And sometimes they throw down two words that mean the same thing, and that's boom, 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 when they both hit my mouth at the same time. Boom, boom, boom. The little guys running around me. That's how I talk. Anyway, you got to have a little, if you don't make fun of yourself, somebody else will. So all that said here. So this is about Ali Larijani. This article thinks that, this writer, and for the Sun, your Sun, thinks that this guy getting taken out is probably going to bring down the Iranian regime just because of his connectivity, the power he had at holding all these disparate forces in Iran together. He was the only guy who really had his thumb in each one, and he was a negotiator. And so he was a very powerful man. Oh, that's ain't gonna let me read that article. Why ain't I can read them on? I got when I see them on my phone, I can read all these articles, but when I pull them up here, I get all this chaff thrown at me. So, according to this article, taking him out was more significant than taking out uh, Ali Khamenei, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So, because he did have so much influence across all the different elements of the Iranian society, from the clerics, the ayatollahs, through the IRGC. He had enormous influence like nobody else. But he was taken out. Now, there are those that think this was all done, but this being done takes out our off ramp. And this art writer here is speculating that maybe there's three reasons it was done. Is this article? Let me look at it. And one of them, I don't see it all here. Yeah, it said he favored de-escalation with the Gulf Coast states, the Arab states around the Gulf Coast. He was more amenable to negotiation. So, there is all these things. But this writer believes that he was taken out maybe just to stop the United States from having an off ramp to keep us in the war. Because remember, it's Israel that did this operation. Maybe they want to take out our chance to negotiate a way out to keep us there, banging on Iran. So, does Israel have some outside undue influence on the United States? Well, through operations like that, I'd say yes. And so this other guy was the Basij commander of the Basij force. The Basij force is a force, it's a paramilitary force of volunteers who were driven by their religious fervor to fight for the Islamic Republic. And these are the guys who were mowing down the protesters, bang, bang, bang. Uh, they're heavily armed. They're an internal security force, and so this was the commander of that force. We took out the top commander of the IRGC previously, but now we got the commander of the Basij force. And some people think this was a signal to the protesters to rise up. They can't really do it unless they're armed. Israel has kind of virtually armed them by giving them the chance through their phones to call in strikes on various Basij's IRGC force locations, choke points, and so forth. And they've been doing that. And then as suddenly they're getting mowed down, pinned down, mowed down by some group, they can call a strike in on them. But still, it's not like, sometimes you need a rifle, to be honest. So I don't know if this will work. Uh, yeah, so most Americans are not for this war. They don't, or they especially don't want us there that long. If we were able to get out soon, uh, most people would forgive and forget. But if we stay in there long, it's going to, the Republican base is divided over this. We just had a national security advisor pull out and resign over this. We've got, it was rumored that J.D. Vance was against it before we went in. But once the decision was made, he kind of, locked step with the rest of the administration. But he was supposedly adamantly against it. Remember, he was the big no war force inside of the administration, believe it or not. So, but it's also been suggested he's kind of on the out within the administration in some regards. But that's a lot of political armchair analysts flapping their gums. You get on, watch some of these shows like Face the Nation or any Sunday news hour, whatever they want to call it. And you get all these experts, none of them agree with each other, and most all of them are usually wrong. They're all the experts, but none of the experts agree, and usually everything one of them's wrong. So, they'll put out a lot of opinions, a lot of pieces on this stuff, but you don't take it to the bank. It's something to ponder, to consider. This might be true, but and a lot of times they're writing articles and they do it on their own. And you read it and it sounds like, well, this guy, he's right on. It's got to be this. And you see it also on YouTube. YouTube channel creators, have got less connections, less connectivity. A lot of times they do far less analysis. They make a knee-jerk decisions. They see something, oh, yeah, it's that way. And they go out and put out a bunch of videos and people believe it. And some of them are pretty big names. Some of them, there's another channel that's like 100,000 times bigger than mine, it seems like. He puts out a lot of stuff. He shoots them in the knee a lot of times, and shoots them in the hip. Knee jerk reaction, shoots them in the hip. Okay, I said those little guys running around my head, throwing down words at the same time. I'm not going to name him here because I like him. And I think he's got his base analysis, his theme is good, but a lot of times he misses a lot of details. He put out with a great certainty there was a big general of the IRGC who was defecting to the U.S. and Israel. There's no official confirmation of that, none. It may be happening, but there's actually no official confirmation of that. So, and maybe there wouldn't be. But I've also seen him put out a few other things this past week or two that prove not to be true. But, hey, he's got a lot of enthusiasm. You got to love him. We're all human. But, and I say, you got to judge things for yourself. I'm here bringing you a synthesis of different pieces, different elements, because I do look at the players. I do look at trends. I do look at motivations. And I look at this from the lens of tracking this stuff for decades. So I'll bring you up now, and I'm a big picture guy. I connect a lot of dots that a lot of people don't connect. Glenn Beck's kind of a big picture guy. Come think about it, but I connect a lot of dots that people don't connect, and I've got military experience, and I'm an engineer. So I can see through certain things a lot of miss. So that's why you want to come here. I'm going to give you a straight, that nobody else gives you. Like my story, nobody else is saying what I said when I came out with them. Now some other people are repeating that about, hey, we're going to leave the IRGC in power. Their nuclear materials are probably still going to be there too, and they will rise from the rubble and just start over again, whether they got the nuclear materials or not. We might be able to go in and take them, but it's going to be an exceedingly difficult operation to do that. And that's going to have us involved there even longer, which would thrill Israel, of course. So, all that said, this guy being taken out may be a good thing for the Iranian people. Maybe they can rise up, but somehow they need to be armed. That virtual arming probably helps them too. Who knows? Maybe they can get an upper hand, but it's going to be a long shot. Definitely a long shot for them to pull that out, and make something happen on their side. My hope and prayers is that the people of Iran can get out from under the jackboot of the regime that's ruled them so heavily. I wish the same thing for the people in China or anywhere where they're living under oppression, that the people will find a way. But when you're not armed, that's exceedingly hard to do. And a lot of people got a lot of hope for the folks in China along the same venue, but the Chinese internal security force is bigger than their military. And so it's going to be exceedingly hard to do there too. The only difference is the people in China do it due to loyalty to state. The people in Iran are responding to their loyalty to what they believe to be God and what gets them into heaven or sends them to hell. Big difference. The Iranian motivation is much deeper. China might be more likely to fall than Iran, but not everybody in Iran don't hold that. We know those protesters don't hold that way of thinking. But the IRGC, the Basij forces, do. And they're the ones that's got the arms, and they're pretty significant in numbers. Very significant. So just things to bear in mind, things that I'm trying to point out that that everybody needs to be aware of is how this is playing out and what to expect. And this is important from a prepper's perspective. This is important to understand that a lot of this can come home. It can come home to hit us. In fact, I'll show you in a minute something else the Iranians are now calling for, and it might shock you. So, and this is it right here. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps warns that U.S. companies will be attacked. And they got a list of target list of U.S. companies to attack. Now, this is, mostly their Mideast operations, but this list, I don't know if I can open this up. Yeah, there's Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Microsoft, Oracle, ExxonMobil, Citigroup, talking banks, Amazon Web Services, Lockheed Martin. They already hit an Amazon Web Service building with a drone. Well, it was Lockheed Martin on there twice, maybe different groups. So NSO Group, I don't know who that. We got Microsoft repeated. I don't know what that's for. Boston Consulting Group, Bain and Company, and Boeing's repeated. Well, they're supposedly talking 15 targets. Maybe that's different groups within these companies. I don't know. And maybe you got maybe somebody in the audience can read this Farsi script that is somewhat beyond the things I was educated to do. Now, a lot of my education is self-education, probably by far 99% of it, even though I do have a college degree. But that was not one of the things I trained myself in. Was reading Farsi. Don't speak it, don't read it. I've known people that do. Okay. That's the Persian language, by the way, main language of Iran. So, Gulf states are pressuring U.S., as I said, to neutralize Iran because they don't want a threat there when we pull out. And their biggest fear is we're going to declare victory and go home while the Ayatollah regime, the IRGC, is still in power. And really and truly, what's boiled down to is it is the IRGC running the show, especially now that the recent assassinations have left pretty much the IRGC in power. In fact, their selection of Mashtaba, whatever you say his name, Ali Khamenei's son, the new Ayatollah Khamenei, he he could still be comatose or not fully functional. And it could just be the RGC just put his name out there, propped him up, and they could be the ones putting out all the edicts and announcements he's putting out. It was believed that he was a hardliner to start with and tightly in tight with the IRGC. Some people say he's not really that bright, that he's got some mental issues and other issues, which would typically get somebody in Iran meeting the big blade, if you know what I mean, or being hung. But that's hearsay. I don't know what's true in that regard, but definitely he is a IRGC stooge. The IRGC is in charge. The IRGC is much more hardline. They wanted nukes, and the now deceased Ali Khamenei was kind of holding back on that. He agreed to have everything kind of built up to a certain level in place and ready, but he kind of held back. Maybe he wanted to go there, but he thought maybe certain things had to happen first. So I don't know what his philosophy was, but he was a little bit more reserved. The IRGC wanted to go full bore into it. Now with the IRGC now more firmly in charge, when they come back out of the rubble, they're going to be a lot madder, especially if the new Mashtaba Khamenei, Ayatollah, he lost his mom, his dad, his wife, a son, and I think maybe a sister. He lost a lot of family members in that strike, and apparently personally incurred very severe physical damage to himself. So he is likely to not look too favorably on the United States and Israel. Let's just put it that way. He is likely to be very likely he may seek revenge. They consider Ali Khamenei a martyr now, and martyrs have to be avenged. So now that martyr that has to be avenged is his dear old dad and mom and wife and son. Yeah, I don't think you can expect he's going to be more lenient than his dad was. Let's just put it that way. Uh, so that we may just declare victory and leave, which we might, has got the Gulf states really concerned. And you should be able to understand why. So now there's this whole thing that, this is talk of sending, somewhere between 1 to 10,000, probably 5 to 10,000 troops in on a special operations deal to special forces, large contingency of special forces to retrieve the nuclear enriched materials in Iran. Well, first you got to find them. And if they're buried, you're going to have to uh, set up a defense perimeter and spend a few days with heavy equipment digging them out. And you got to get the heavy equipment. Once you get them dug out, if it's still in the centrifuges full of that gas uranium hexafluoride that I told you about, is how most people think that stuff is stored right now. It's still in a gas phase in the centrifuges with the inside with mixed in with uranium hexafluoride. That stuff is extremely toxic, extremely deadly. The byproducts of just without the uranium, the hexafluoride is extremely reactive. If they bust a tube or mishandle something, that stuff gets out, it's going to be a major problem for the people trying to handle it. So they gotta be in a combat situation and handling a lot, maybe 30 cylinders with kid gloves in a combat situation. And some of them may be buried under rubble. Pickaxe Mountain has not been attacked. I'm thinking a lot of it's probably there. I think a lot of it got moved. I don't believe it was there at the adjacent Fordo site because there was no evidence of uranium hexafluoride having leaked out in the area, and that should have been the case. So my humble opinion is that stuff is still existent in the cylinders and probably ready to spin and purify further. That's how they purify it. So uh, yeah, I have been up for a long time. I'm getting very little sleep tonight. So, yeah, sometimes I'm a little rough because I am running on fumes, guys. So if you bear with me, especially when I get my tang tungled, or sometimes I may forget a few names and things and dates and times. Sometimes I'll write script to try to avoid that, but I have a hard time reading that too, especially when I'm tired. So, uh, yeah, sometimes I do that so I can keep all the facts together. Um, anyway, but I can always talk, but I may miss a few things, miss a few key points I want to make. So this commando mission is thought to be a mission nearly impossible, just at the edge of impossibility. So can we pull it off? Will we commit to doing it? I got my thing hung up again. I think. Let's see. Can I scroll here? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So yeah, this is not going to let me read the entire article, but basically, the imagine that you're a special force unit, but you got to take in track hose, backhoes, uh, bulldozers, heavy digging equipment, and operate it while there's enemy forces all around you. They're going to know where you're at exactly. You got to set up a heck of a defensive perimeter. Uh, so there's a lot of guys will be there just to provide the set defense perimeter. Then you got to be able to get the stuff out and get the troops out while under fire. So, bet that's probably a helicopter operation. 18 degrees. Wow. It's actually been kind of warm out here. It's cold in the east and warm in the west right now. Sometimes that flips, but that's what we're looking at. So, not an easy operation any way you want to slice it or dice it. Now, this article here is saying, hey, uh, the problem with the war is we're running out of ammo, basically. We've used a lot of our high-end stuff. It's the command, the reload, they're calling it here. But they're talking about how in the first 96 hours of this operation, we expended 5,197 munitions, 35 different types or groups of munitions. And, now we've been going, we're into 2 weeks. So, and they're talking about the cost to kill ratio is much higher for us because we're using exceedingly expensive weapons against, multi-million dollar weapons against, uh, 30, 20, 30, $50,000 drones in many cases. So when you look at the ratios, those don't look good for us, especially going forward in the long term. So, and saying we're playing a game of cat and mouse. Again, it's like whack-a-mole, like we play with the Houthis. So it shows that the Iranians spending 1,300 Shahed drones. It's thought they got thousands more ballistic missiles, cruise missiles. Yeah. Let's see. Is there a graphic for the United States stuff? I'm having trouble getting these things to slide here. Now, this is munition type, quantity expended in 96 hours, and the pre-op inventory and percentage stock consumed of various different munitions. So you can get here's your Bunker Buster bomb. No, this is J down here. Yeah, okay, that's your Bunker Busters. No, that's not that. This is a guided bomb. Pardon me. Guided bomb, similar name. TACMs, prisms, those are limited too. We've used 32% of them. But what we've used a lot of, and before we got in this, was the SM2s, 3s, and 6s, the naval interceptors. Patriots, yeah. Anyway, telemunitions expanded in. Now this whole chart is just the first 96 hours. Mind you, we've been firing this stuff for 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. Look there, THAAD. We used up 32.5% of our THAAD resources in the first 96 hours. Pretty critical. Rampage, supersonic missile, 26%. 53% of Israel, that's Israel's in there too, their Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 missiles. David Sling, 26%. So, yeah, there's been a rapid use of all this stuff. And we've lost more than a dozen $16 million Reaper drones. So, what I was talking about now with decentralized forces, the IRGC has been set up in independent groups now, and each one is basically told to fire at will. So they got different commanders running them. And even if the nation of Iran answered to Trump and says, okay, we surrender unconditionally, it doesn't mean all the troops will. In 9 April of 1865, General Lee surrendered to General Grant at Appomattox. The war continued for another, what a lot of people don't realize is there was still people fighting in actual military units for 2.5 months later in some places. The last Confederate forces to surrender were under Confederate General, Brigadier General Stan Waite. Stan Waite was a Native American, full-blooded. He was a brigadier general, born in Georgia in 1806. He led an Native American Indian military unit in Oklahoma. And they were the last official unit to surrender. In mid to late June of 1865, 2.5 months after Lee surrendered. And there were guerrilla forces that were fighting in Missouri, a lot of whom never surrendered. Some of them went to Mexico, just like that movie Outlaw and Josie Wells. A lot of them did that. They just left. They left the country, they went to Mexico. And some of them formed outlaw gangs, like the Jesse James gang or Cole Younger's gang. They just would not surrender. Some of them never did. And there were some individuals. So, this is what I'm saying. Is just because the country surrenders don't mean, especially since they fragmented their forces, that they're all going to surrender. And if they got that little Shahed drone sitting in the back of a truck or some garage or a little tunnel, hidey-ho, they got a fast attack boat in some hidden jetty, They could still make mayhem for the Strait of Hormuz for some time. That's why I'm saying that, and I don't see the IRGC surrender. I don't see the Mullah regime surrendering unless something dramatic happens or the people of Iran take over. Given that the probability that somebody could fling a drone into the Strait of Hormuz is an existent problem and will be for some time. In order to stop that, that 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit may have to stay there or maybe rotate out with some other Marine units. Some of those, MEUs that are called Marine Expeditionary Units. The 31st is the foremost one they have. But, they got to rotate some forces. Maybe some Army Rangers would go in there. Maybe Green Berets would go in there. So just things to look at and consider that this, even though we may declare victory and leave, we may leave forces in play. Of course, we'll just say, oh, yeah, well, we've established some new bases. They're manning their base. Politics, you can reframe things. You can paint I guess, lipstick on a pig if you wanted to. Politicians are famous for renaming stuff, rebranding stuff, changing how they talk about stuff. Take a union break. Take a union break. Oh, hey, Wizard, how you doing? So I'm just giving you guys the parameters here to understand the kind of things we're dealing with. Now we'll change topics here a little bit. Cuba. Now this article is really negative, and they're just trying to attack Trump because there's a total blackout in Cuba, and there's a problem that people are not getting surgeries they need. Hospitals are shut down, and some people may be dying to that. But this article claims they're already starving to death. That's what this article claims. Thousands of people are starving to death right now. There may be a lot of hungry people, but it takes about 30 days to starve to death. So this article is disingenuous. It's lying, basically. It's chock full of lies because a lot of the things they say, just things don't work that way. Yeah, there's some problems, there's some issues, but this article has gone out on the limb stating things that just patently are not true. There's a lot of articles like that, and they stir up a lot of people. Hopefully, it's been said that some sources claim that the president of Cuba is basically renounced communism. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Again, as some of those other channels are making premature claims about stuff, we'll just have to see how it pans out. I do, but there's a lot of people in Cuba protesting against that regime. They don't want to see them stay in power if the Cuban, and just negotiate with Trump and stay in. They want them gone, just like the people in Iran want the Ayatollah regime gone. The people in Venezuela, want the remnants of Maduro's regime out too. But a lot of times the American administration, they want to see continuity, somebody to negotiate with and run things. They just want to see some change in the way it's being run. So we'll just have to see how all that pans out. If Cuba became a free democratic republic again, a lot of people want to go down there for vacations. There'd be big resort hotels. Their economy would probably boom. It would become a rich island, most likely, instead of a poor ant hole. You know what I mean? Uh, Arizona temps are supposedly going up to 100. Well, that's down in the valley, not here. We might hit, bear in mind, I'm in northern Arizona, and it's, I'm over a mile high, and I'm not in some little bitty cool pocket of the state. Most of the state of Arizona tends to be colder than Alabama usually, but right now Alabama's colder because of the weather front. So I refer to this as cold. You got to remember, it snowed here 19 April. What we're looking at for highs on my forecast going through Monday is a high of 89 degrees Fahrenheit Friday. That's not 100. If I go to WeatherBug and look at that, see what it forecasts, it goes I got a 10-day forecast there. And I got 87 Saturday, 80, and that's the highest day. We're back down to 74 Thursday. So yeah, it's warmer than typical, even here right now. It's warmer than typical, but it's not 80 or 100 degrees. Now you go down to Tucson and Phoenix, yeah, most of the people live down there. So that's why everybody thinks all the state's hot. No, it ain't hot up here. We did have a warm spring last year, a lot warmer than normal. But uh, I'm up in the freezer part of the state and they're down in the oven part of the state. And by far the biggest part of the state is not what we call the valley. The biggest part of Arizona is like where I'm at. But most people don't get that because everything they hear about Arizona comes from Tucson and Phoenix, where most of the people are. All right, that's it. Let's get back to the news. Sorry, I digress. I shouldn't do that for my coffee club drinkers in the morning. We're almost done with the news, by the way. Argentina. Now, Argentina withdrew from the World Health Organization, just like Trump did earlier. Yay for them. Yay for Argentina. This may be the best bastion of freedom in the world. We'll have to see if they can hold on to it. We'll just have to see how all that plays. We got some people in Arizona in the house tonight. I bet we still have a few Arizonans in here besides myself, and they'll vouch for what I'm saying. So uh, let's just hope that freedom can return to the people of Cuba, the people of Iran, the people of Venezuela, the people of China. I hope those people can get the jackboots off their necks. The people of Europe, the people of the United Kingdom, who they want to give a chip to and say you can't buy or sell without thanks to Stammer. And does that sound like something out of the book of Revelation? Okay, so Peter Thiel angered the Vatican. He did a four-part lecture series in Rome, and they got mad at him because he said the Antichrist is coming. He said the Antichrist would subject humanity to a one world government, and that made the Vatican mad. It's right out of the Bible. it's it's right out of the Bible, but it made the Vatican mad, according to this article. Wow. And the crazy thing, even though he's the one going around warning everybody about it, he seems to be developing the technology that would enable it himself. So I don't know. Really strange. 400 feet, 4,500 feet above sea level. I am about 5,560 feet above sea level, I think. What is it right now? Something like that. I'll tell you exactly what it is here in a minute. I'm where I'm sitting at is 5,564 feet above sea level. And all I got to do is travel a few miles, and I'm over 6,000 feet. 60, I can get up 7,000 feet and hurry around here. Or you go over to Eager, that's the highest city in the state. So, yeah, we got some elevation here. Hey, we got another super chat. Michigan Woodman. How you doing, Michigan Woodsman? Salute to you, Michigan Woodsman. I appreciate that. You and yeah, and Carrie too. Oh, we got another super chat. Shaggy dollar. Thank you, Shaggy. Appreciate that. So I'm just trying to tell you guys what's going down. Why did I do this? Because one, you're going to get a lot of other misinformation out of a lot of channels. You got channels telling you this is absolutely going to nuclear war, no way around it, absolutely nuclear war. It's absolutely going to do this and do this and do that. And you got other channels saying we have won, it's over. We've got channels, saying, that, we got generals on IRGC generals that are switch sides. And they're going to lead their army, and that army will turn around and take out the rest of the IRGC and the mullahs. Well, a lot of people are out there just telling you what they hope for. They saying, "Well, I hope this is it." So that's what that's why they believe. But I don't do that. No, not. Yeah, I'm over a mile high. You didn't know that? Yes, it's over a mile high here. Absolutely. Lots of big swaths of Arizona are over a mile high. That does mean I get more UV here. So, in any event, I've said that many times on this channel. People aren't paying attention to me. Maybe if you get down to Holbrook or something, it might be lower like that. I don't know. Maybe you get down, I don't know where it's that low. Phoenix, Tucson, they're lower altitude. Uh, I'd have to look it up. I don't know what their altitude is, But you got Sholo. Sholo's at 6,600. You got the Pine Top, just a little bit north of Sholo, south of Sholo. You're around 7,000 feet. You get to the Apache Indian Reservation. I wished I could have got up there. Maybe I'll get up there this weekend and buy some gas. It's a lot cheaper. Gas there is significantly cheaper on the Indian reservation. So, hey, and the Apaches, if you go to they got a restaurant in their casino, good food, cheap prices, good service. I don't go into gamble. I don't gamble, but they got a great restaurant. And the Honda Casino. It's called Pine something, but it's it's not high end food, but it's good food for a low price. So on Friday night they do crab legs and shrimp and all kind of good stuff. Seafood's hard to find around here, so I appreciate that. I love seafood. Anyway, let's go on here. Um, I find this to be interesting. It's highly ironic that the Vatican is getting mad at the guy telling them the Antichrist is coming, is going to rule the world with one world government. And he's the guy that's probably pioneering. Well, his technology could definitely lead to that. I'm not saying it will, but it could. And who knows? He may be setting it up himself. Yeah, something you got to bear in mind. We live in a world where the deceptions are going to be so great that it's going to blow your minds. People you just knew were this, that, or the other, were going to be something else. And you said all the evidence in the world. It just has to be. This just has to be true. No, it don't. This one got to have your eyes wide open, head on the swivel, and some discernment. So be careful going forward. Who you trust, no man, only the higher powers. That's what I've been telling you guys for a long time. Oh, yeah, just so y'all will see, this is my little elevation app. I'm not making this up, okay? I'm not making it up. Yeah, I'm over a mile high. Anyway, so these are the things I've been warning you guys about. We may be coming into the period right out of the Bible. Especially, I just showed you guys last night that something I said was going to happen many, many months ago. I said the Chinese would develop robotic horses. Yeah, they've done it. I said they were going to develop robotics for their industry. This is before it all came out, that they were going to use robotics to try to make up for the shortfall in their demographics. They would have robotic soldiers. I said they were going to put robots, all over the place. And they're also developing genetic super soldiers, and they're trying to create artificial wombs, and they think they can take them through gestation, maybe as short as 3 months, and grow them out faster than regular people, make them smarter, tougher, grow into combat age a lot faster. And I told you how they would pay for these programs, even with their economy being smashed. Why they would do it, how they could do it, technologically, financially. They're ahead of schedule. They're ahead of the schedule I projected months ago on all fronts. Look at this. They got a robot that can play tennis now. And just a few months ago, I was watching on the China show. The robots were nothing but fumbling things that couldn't handle a spoon, and they were all falling over. Oh, they got robots now that play kung fu. They are advancing. They are advancing. That's right. The Church of Rome don't want you teaching anything outside of their dichotomy, outside of their whatever, their not dichotomy, their dogma. And a lot of organizations like it, you got to keep an open mind, but that don't mean you lose your faith. If space aliens were real space aliens and came here from way across the universe, and we can absolutely prove that, that would not cause, that's not a reason to lose your faith, because the greater creator is bigger than the entirety of the universe, to include places out there, anywhere. Okay? The greater creator is bigger than the entirety of the multiverse. Don't forget that. They may try to convince you otherwise. And what they may call, and we may have some big reveal, oh, there's space aliens here, and this is how you're supposed to believe and think. I would wager that we're probably going to be getting what from the Old Testament we would have called demons. So be careful, guys, what you believe. Be careful what you think. I believe it when I say it. Well, sometimes when you see it, it may not be what you think, especially in today's AI world. You know, you might see pictures and videos like Bibi Netanyahu trying to prove that he's got 5 fingers because somebody said there was a 6 finger AI video of him, and the coffee he's holding in his hand is defying the laws of gravity, it looks like. I still want to go to the purgatory and get me a cup of cappuccino and see if I can pull that trick off myself. Uh, Greg, how come far? What? Are you located from the Lucifer Binocular Telescope? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that down in southern Arizona? It's probably a 5 hour, I think it's Tucson. It's probably about a 6 hour drive, 5 or 6 hour drive away. Never been there. Not that telescope. I have been to some telescopes down there, but not that one. So, yeah, yeah. Just gonna let me change. And as I mentioned, you guys earlier, I pulled it up. Zechariah 12:2-3. I pulled this up because Israel is probably really going to make the whole world mad at them. So they may use nukes. If they do, the whole world will be mad at them. Believe me. And this prophecy says, I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reel in. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. On that day, yeah, you got to remember Israel broke into the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, and the Israelites in the northern part, the 10 lost tribes, got taken off by the Assyrians. Okay, so I don't know why they didn't name Israel Judah today, because technically that's what the name should have been. But anyway, I digress. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, on that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathering against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. Is that an interesting passage or what? Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. This is not a religious channel. I'm not here to preach to you, but I find that interesting. I do think the Jerusalem we know today was basically founded by the Rothschilds, and I think the Rothschilds were somewhat less than godly, in my humble opinion. Let's put it that way. I think they are, you know, that organization was founded on 1 May 1776 by Weishaupt. He was one of their henchmen. So go figure. They are globalist. And it all probably plays into their concept for how to bring about the world they want to bring about, which isn't the same as what we'd find in Revelation. Let's just put it that way. What they're desirous of is the other side winning, in my humble opinion. But prove me wrong. If you got something you can prove me wrong, let's hear it. What say you? Well, with the exception of the West Coast and our good friends up in Alaska, Alaska is a company, oil company, Alaska, which means the Great Land. We got Meg Rising and Shaggy in the house. The Great Land. Check this out, guys. Aside from that, the main United States has got no activity in it, except right here, up in here. It's all Ring of Fire activity. So that's kind of unusual not to see something popping off here. But the Puerto Ricans are dancing tonight. A lot of smaller earthquakes worldwide. Looks like about as big as any of them right here north of New Zealand, 5.1. And the Kermadec Islands. We got a mid-Atlantic ridge earthquake, 5.0. Everything else is looking actually to be smaller. 5.0 Krell Islands. So nothing bigger than 5.0 today. That's probably good news. Probably good. And I can set the filter different. Let's just set the magnitude 2.5 and above. If I set the magnitude lower, you're going to see all kind of stuff up in Alaska, some other places. Now, Alaska has got a lot of earthquakes going on. My cats are awakening, my little kittens. I may come under attack shortly, guys. I may be under attack from wild beast. Anyway, I hear the attack coming. And y'all may have heard about this meteor hitting near Cleveland, Ohio, coming in 45,000 miles an hour. A 6 foot diameter rock, they said, weighs 7 tons. 7 tons. And it exploded in the upper atmosphere and made a lot of sound. A lot of sound in here, but it exploded way up in that. Well, what happened here? Verification required. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to that. Anyway, but it's not on this chart. This is the space weather chart for asteroids. And if you look at St. Patty's Day on here when it hit, there's nothing, nothing here. Oh yeah, we're up in March. Up here. There should be something with a red line that says zero distance in terms of Earth and Moon distance. But it's not on this chart yet. I'll hit update and see if it's just come up. But it's really only 2 meters across. So maybe they got a threshold. The smallest one I see on here right now is 5 meters. I think they've had 2 meter objects on there in the past. I'll update it. I still don't see anything. Anywho, yeah, we had a lot of close calls in the past. So, it was one of those. It's one of those we didn't see coming until it hit us. A lot of those others are the ones we see when they pass by us, the smaller ones. They're much harder to detect. Got a little coronal hole here on the sun, just a slight little aurora. Now sunspot. Come on, open up, will you? 3695 is aimed right at us, and 3692. Let's hope they don't. It's not a really big one. It did put out a yes, I am under attack. I am under attack. A wild beast is attacking me right now. All right, here we are. I'm under attack, as y'all see. This is Spunky. She's always the first one to attack. There's some other ones down here running around. Oh, it moved. So just letting you guys see all this stuff. And this is 10,000 Starlinks. And he's wanting to put 1 million data centers in orbit. This shows them, oops, over time loading up. Anyway, kind of interesting. You can use heavens above to track satellites. So, already, I am one to, okay, Spunky is crawling down. I am going to stop the share. And no, you can't type on the computer, cat. Just going for the keyboard. I'm going to stop the share and I am going to go to check the comments out. Give me a second. All righty. It's getting, I got to get up real early. It's 77 minutes into it. I don't want to go too deep into the comments. Danny, good morning. See Shelly, good morning. Bud Slinger, I like that name. Flavors of the forest garlic. How you doing? I can hear the fan running on my laptop. Karen, how you doing? You just left the U.S. for France near Spain. It was cheaper than the U.S. It may be cheaper. You probably if you don't find cheaper places, go to Eastern Europe if you're not worried about the Russians coming in on you. MG 1942. Do you think yeah, I already talked about the nuclear weapons thing. Now she's biting on me. 12 Bravo 10. How you doing? Not like a cat. Anyway, Cindy Lou, how you doing? And they do have a plan. Harry Johnson. So you come in tonight on a different monitor, right? Oh, okay. Don't claw my beard. Like I said, I'm under attack. You think I'll survive it, guys? I don't know. I think jury's out now. She's trying to go up to my other computer. Uh, Justin Easterly. Sorry about calling you redneck Gandalf of the day. I wasn't meant as an insult. Okay. I don't even know if I saw it. I don't worry about things like that. Oh, where are you going, cat? No, you can't get up there with a computer. Nope, 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 nope. Let's see. Stock up on cigs and liquor. Yeah, well, that'll be worth some money. Cuban cigars may come back saying, there you go. You want to come with me to 10 Tasmania? Hey, Mandy, we got our friend from down there, Amanda. How you doing, Amanda? And waited out. Tasmania would be the one place that'll survive, guys. Tasmania will survive the nuclear war. Probably won't even have a nuclear winter down there. All good, mate. All just crazy to see. Nothing. USC is making sense. Our news showing Trump saying craziest things. Epstein files. Yeah, we're not, I don't think none of us are happy with this Epstein situation at all. I tell you, they find proof on people and, try them, put them under trial. Yeah. And if they found guilty, convict them. Throw the book at them. Oh, yeah. Spare none. Oops. Come on, computer, quit this stuff. Since World War II, we thought you represented peace. Well, what the United States represents changes from time to time. It changes on who's the president. It changes on a lot of things. So, it's just like any people. Does Xi Jinping really represent all of China? No. Please leave your DNA on the lake bottom. What? Uh-oh. But you're getting different news than what a lot of Americans are getting too. And you got to remember, all the news you get is all slanted everywhere. Yeah. Let's see. Good morning. Just woke up just in time. Good to see you, Nicholas. It is amazing time to see Shelley. That's the way I see it. Raising us, yes. You're in GAY. That was something that's been said about Mushtaba Khamenei, the new Ayatollah. So, hey, I don't know. That's been said. That's, they have terminated the lives of a lot of people over for that. Greg, bro, seriously, Greg, bro, what? Oh, my ears are being ate now, clogged or something. I'm under attack. The cat has got me by the neck. That's how they wipe you out, right? What are you doing, cat? All right. I went to bed at 8, couldn't sleep. Uh-oh, Indiana time. All right. Sorthon Tech. All right. Okay, kitty cat. It's all over me down there. So 3 hours sleep. That's about all I get most nights. Yeah, they really sometimes they claw my ankles up real good, especially when I'm sitting here like this. A lot of times I try to put my feet up on the desk to keep my feet from getting ate up. So yeah, I do that a lot. All right, so all right, what we got here? We got nowhere Nevada, 5,000 feet where I live. Yeah, it's pretty typical out here. Just wanted to be a super. All right, Shaggy, we appreciate you very much. Oh, we got Marine House. Oh, sorry, kitty. Sorry, baby. The satanic symbolism on his tall white hat. Yeah, a lot of things questionable. A lot of questionable stuff. Ow, cat. 10 lost tribes. Some people think that they went to Europe, or some of them. You know, it's been alleged that the British and Americans are really descendants of Ephraim and Manasseh. My mother believed that. I don't know. Yeah, aren't that the cutest thing? Okay. And NASA doesn't notify people until the event has passed. Well, sometimes they don't know these smaller ones. They just hadn't detected them yet. They're hard to see the small ones sometimes. They believe they found all the bigger ones, but as they see them going past us, they'll catalog them next time around. There's a lot of the smaller ones, big number of them. Where did the other kitty go? Anyway, oh, what is going on? Why is the bottom of the screen like, oh. So, hey, now it's a checking number. Always late to party. Hey, Angie, how you doing? Always, you can always watch it on the rewind because that's where I cover the news. All right, guys, it's time, almost time for that famous thing. So, how many eggs did I get tonight? Go guess now. How many eggs did I get tonight or today from my chickens? How many eggs did I harvest today? How many eggs did I harvest today? Y'all get to guess that now. That's a little game I like to play when we're wrapping up here. All right, the Tat Cat decided to go for better game somewhere. Off on a new adventure, something else to attack. All right, keep guessing. Keep guessing. There we go. Angie got it. Angie, you got the guess right. It was 5. She got it first. Salute to Angie there for the first guess. A few of y'all guessed 5 later. Nikki King, Carrie, Paul Bowden, I believe that's how you pronounce that, maybe. Yeah, it was 5. 5 eggs. Angie got it first. All right, stop guessing now. Hang on. Yeah, heck yeah. You got it. 5 eggs. All right, I see the numbers have quit. Wait, whoa. Don't be guessing yet. Do I get an egg? If you come here, I'll give you one. You come here, I'll give you an egg, Angie. Are you close by any chance? Maybe go see the Grand Canyon and drop by. But anyway, you come by, I'll give you an egg. Now, how many of the eggs are Easter egg or eggs? How many of my eggs are Easter egg or eggs? That's the next question. There you go. The cup goes to Angie. How many of my eggs are Easter egg or eggs? Impossible's in the house. All right, very good. Good to know. We get possible. All right, 1 is the right number. And Paul Bowden got it first, I believe. Paul Bowden. 1 Easter egg. Fun time guess. Paul beat you to the entry data point. Harry, yes, this one, but Paul got it first. So, and here the eggs are tonight. And this is the Easter egg or egg right here. 4 Dominecker eggs, looks like. So, there we are, my friends. Hold on, I'll make sure you can see them. This one is the Easter egg. I only got 5 eggs tonight. I had like 8 yesterday, 7 or 8. What was it? I think it was 8. I don't remember now. Yeah, I'll probably get a bunch tomorrow. Sometimes when they skip a day, don't lay as much. Kim Possible, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. So I'll check my emails here. Oh yeah, Kim. I don't think you were. I think when you gave me that donation last time, it came through to my email after you got out. So salute you for that one. Came in. The notification came in right after I ended the video. So salute for that one back a few days ago. Anyway, that's the bestest. What's holding out on me? Alrighty, folks. So we've had my hands smell like cat. Wonder why. Yikes. Cats. Something else. Oh, we got one here. We got this one here. Let's introduce you this one. I ain't seen this one here. Here's one. Little gray tabby. I think I'm gonna name her. We'll name her. Maybe. I got two. They almost just like one's a little lighter color than the other. Purring already. Yeah, I got to think about what name these two gray tabbies. So yeah, it'll be. Smokey was smaller than these cats when I got him. They fit in one hand. His head's bigger than he was now. That's a big old cat. All right, Greg, but due to medical issues, but they don't have to donate every time you're in here. Just when you can, it's not a requirement. I appreciate it greatly when you can. I do. I greatly appreciate it, but it's not a requirement. I'm just glad to see you. Hey, New Days. Happy belated birthday, New Days. Somebody had a birthday yesterday. St. Patty's Day. Somebody serenaded her, but I don't know who would do that. New Days, good to see you. Yeah, I sold the Alabama location. Gave it away, basically. Yeah. She's looking at me and meowing. All right, there she is. 90 days. You don't have to catch the news. You got to get anybody just joining us, got to catch the news on the rewind. What you want? Why are you meowing? Why are you meowing? They're purring and meowing at me. She got food. She got water. Ah, oh. Yeah, I'm right behind you, New Days. Yeah, for those that don't know, the St. Patrick's Day was also the first anniversary of the passing of Granny Lana, who's one of our big fans. So, oh, what you want to do, kitty? You want to settle down and go to sleep there? What you want to do? Uh-oh. But Kim Possible, yes, I do hope you're going to be okay. Absolutely. So, New Days just got through pneumonia. All right. Medical issues. I'll tell you what. Let's do a little prayer for our people. Yes, there's claws here and teeth. And usually when they're climbing up on me, sometimes I got bare ankles, and that ain't no fun. So, thank you. Another year around the sun. Exactly. So, guys, let's do something real quick before we go. Let's say a prayer for Kim Possible. She's been a big supporter of the channel here. She's having medical issues. I don't know. We need to figure out a way to take donations for her. New Days has just got over pneumonia. Yeah. All right, guys, let's do a little quick prayer for Kim Possible, for our troops overseas, and for our country, so we don't get so wrapped up in a major war. Thank you, Arnold. Faith, most important, and ivermectin. Hey, I know I got a source for that. Yeah, yeah. Angie, how you doing? All right, let's do it. Let's say a quick prayer. Amen. You pray, kitty. You pray. Anyway, all righty, folks. Oh, Hillbilly has cancer. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, Hillbilly has cancer. Hey, I still mourn losing North Shore. Y'all remember him? Oh my gosh. Oh, Hillbilly's got cancer. Let's do another prayer real quick. I don't tell you how to pray. That's why I don't lead you in prayer. You're about to pray from your own faith. And if you don't have a faith, silence is golden. Let's do another prayer for old Hillbilly here. Amen. What's up, cat? Taking one sleep. All right. Yeah, North Shore is a good guy. I mean, those of you that knew him, he'd be he'd be on real late. He was real sick. He'd be on real late, and sometimes he'd fall asleep in this program. Bless his heart. Good guy, passed away. Well, he was a Canadian, good ways east of Arnold. So, hey, I'm an old hillbilly myself, you know. All righty. Whoa. Cat, what are you getting on me? Bringing all this stuff up on the floor? Where'd you find that at? All right, guys. So I want to thank our super chatters tonight. We had a good night for that. Uh, Carrie, uh, we had Shaggy, Carrie, and Michigan Woodsman. Michigan Woodman, Shaggy, Gary, thank you all so much for the super chats tonight. Salute to you. Thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Please hit the thumbs up on your way out. Don't leave the house without a thumbs up, please. Miss on North Shore. Hey, Northern Girls Hobby. Yes, I know that. I know that. I know that. He was a blessed soul. So definitely that. We're not, some of us aren't spring chickens anymore. So, we appreciate people while you got them in your life. That's what I got to say. Just appreciate them and you got them. All right, I'm going to have to name you Rastus. I think that's going to be your name, Rastus. What do y'all think? This cat might get named Rastus. I've been thinking about that. I catch the replay. Y'all do that. Catch the replay. All righty, folks. So, yeah, good to see you here, Kim. I hope that your medical issues are resolved and it all works out for you. And to one and all, I say good night, good day, wherever you are. In honor of Granny Lana, I say, or get clawed to death. I say, ho, ho, ho. And